brother works for
Oh,
Disney
shit. Sorry,
and...
my AirPod died. Oh, God.
Oh.
Scared the shit out of me.
You were frightened.
I'm frightened, Annie M.
I'm frightened, Annie M.
I'm frightened, Annie M. I'm frightened. Annie M. Annie M.
I hate us.
There's a cold open for you.
But on the whole, I've been a saint to those poor unfortunate souls.
Hello, and welcome to Poor Unfortunate Podcast. I'm Connor Perkins.
And I'm Caroline Ameti.
Welcome to everyone who is new here and joining us for the first time. We love having you. And for those of you who are joining us again, it's so great to have you back. Make sure that you hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you are listening to this podcast. That way, all of our episodes, including any bonus content, gets downloaded immediately to your device so you don't miss anything, because that would suck.
And if you know and love us, it would be so nice if you could go leave us a little 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, because it really just helps get the podcast in front of new listeners. And a little bit goes a long way. And it also really makes our day when we read them. So thank you in advance.
We read all of them.
Yeah.
It's like...
we send them to each other.
Healthy.
Yeah.
It's probably not healthy, but, you know, we're actors. We thrive on criticism and positive reinforcement. Mostly positive reinforcement. Please give us positive reinforcement. We're fragile right now.
Yeah.
All right, so now that that's out of the way, Caroline, what's new?
Well, here's a fun thing that I heard about watching my Disney vloggers, as I do. Apparently, there is a big overhaul of the Carousel of Progress coming up.
Oh, yeah.
And Tom Hanks is slated to be the new narrator.
Fuck me, Lord.
I'm kind of into it.
That's perfect.
I'm like, I can't wait. I love the Carousel of Progress, and I just want it to be freshened up.
I mean, you also kind of have to, because now when they get into the future section, it's like, this is all shit we have.
Yeah, and I'm a little sensitive about the things that Walt made, but this one, it's time, and I trust what they're going to do with it.
Yeah.
And I love it, and I just want it to be the best that it can be, and I think Tom Hanks is the only answer.
Yeah.
And then if we get a live-action Carousel of Progress movie with Tom Hanks, I'm okay with that too.
That would be interesting.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Time
Folks,
travel? I don't know. Something.
You heard it here.
Mm-hmm.
Disney, I know you're listening to this fucking podcast. Caroline said it. Talk to her about rights. She'll sell them to you.
Come to me.
Oh, here's a fun thing that happened. So I recently made a new friend, and his brother works for Disney Parks in their nighttime show division, doing technical creation stuff. And he couldn't tell me literally anything, but he has seen Harmonious. And when I tell you that on the Zoom call, I shut my computer when he told me this, I'm not lying. I was so angry that someone who's not me has seen it.
I know. If anybody has any ins here, please.
I hate that. I hate that for me. But all he said is, it's amazing. It's incredible. And I'm just like, yeah, I know. But they've got the arch installed. Everyone's making jokes about the arch because they're like, this eyesore. And I'm like, you haven't turned the fountains on yet. Let them turn the fountains on.
What did you call them? The majestic fountains of something.
Glory or
glory,
something like that? Let them turn the majestic water on. Please. Come on. Though today I saw, because I follow Zach Ridley, who is Disney Imagineer, they rose up the 12 flags of Epcot in the front that are all the logos of some of the original designs for the lands. Those like logos that they created, and they put those up today, and they look beautiful.
Okay.
The new entrance to Epcot looks beautiful. I love all the flags. I love the new fountain look. I love it.
I gotta be there. I need to feel it. I need to be there and feel it. We need to go.
I think the vibe of this new Epcot is gonna. It's one that I think a lot of people, including myself, when they originally announced it, met with a lot of like, and I think part of that is also because a lot of us knew that something needed to happen, but it's just like, where do you start? And they were like, okay, we're gonna throw paint on this canvas and we're gonna like start making some efforts. And what we've seen now of the picture coming together, I have loved so far. So with this like new entrance way to Epcot, I'm loving it. So I feel much more confident hearing this stuff about what kind of a show we're getting in Harmonious, how it's just blows everything else out of the water, like World of Color, Happily Ever After, like all of it. I'm here for it. I'm in love with a new Nighttime Spectacular. I haven't even seen it. I'm a slut for spectacles.
And Disneyland announced that they're not opening, of course, but they're going to be introducing a ticketed event that I'm a little unclear about what it is. It will include characters. It will include part of California Adventure is already open. Buena Vista Street is already open. But it will be a ticketed event including characters and experiences just as a way to start bringing people back into park property.
Interesting.
I guess if I lived in California, I'd probably pay up and go. But for me, I was like, I'm paying to have access to shopping where I can spend more money. But
yeah,
I feel bad for California. They've had no Disneyland for a year. It's tough. So that's coming up.
You know, this actually isn't Disney news, but I want to share it because I saw it today. I didn't really look too much into it because I just sort of quickly saw this headline and scrolled past it. But, you know, Broadway's not open right now. But I saw that some Broadway theaters are going to be opening for some pop-up experiences. Like just opening their doors so that there are little things going there. And I love that idea. I love that we have these spaces that we can't use them right now in the way that they are set up to. So we're looking at different ways in which we can use the spaces for other things. So I love that. I mean, I also feel like every Broadway theater could easily be a mass vaccination spot in the city. Get some stage managers on that shit and they will get it done.
The stage managers should have been on this from the start.
Yeah.
We would all be vaccinated by now.
Stage managers for president. That's what I'm saying. But that was just something that like gave me a little new jolt of hope, a little nice thing that something is happening with these theaters because they've just been sitting there. I mean,
I can't even think about it. Oh God.
Yeah. Oh, by the time that you all will be listening to it, Raya and the Last Dragon will have premiered in theaters and on Disney Plus Premier Access.
Yeah.
That's happening this coming Saturday. So I'm really excited to see what happens with that. But I'm excited for Raya and the Last Dragon. I'm loving the fact that Kelly Marie Tran is getting this moment for her.
I know.
Because she deserves it.
Oh my God. Oh, and I thought of this because I just watched an interview with Aquafina. She talked a little bit about The Little Mermaid in this interview that I was watching. And apparently they've announced another new cast member for the movie.
They did.
And people in the comments of the article were like, oh yeah, she's going to be Vanessa. But it's pretty much confirmed that we already have a Vanessa. So I literally have no idea who this actress is going to be playing. She's like around Halle Bailey's age. So maybe one of her sisters. I don't know. But we've got a new cast member. So interesting.
Yeah. So this is our last tips and tricks episode of season 1. So we wanted to sort of return to basics, kind of like where we started. And we turned to our listeners to ask us some questions about some tips, some tricks, and things like that that would help you. So this is like our mailbag kind of episode, if you will. And we have a bunch of questions, and we're going to go through them and answer them as best as we can and give you our take on it. So, yeah. For what it's worth. All right. So I will preface by saying we have a lot of questions, and a lot of you actually asked the same questions. So there's definitely going to be some overlap, and hopefully you'll hear your question and hear it answered. So let's start with some Disney Plus questions, because I feel like WandaVision is the big thing.
Hmm.
Just came to an end by the time people are listening to this. So I think we should start with this question that we have where it says, I want to watch WandaVision, but haven't seen all of the MCU. For those of you who don't know, MCU means Marvel Cinematic Universe. So all the Marvel movies. And this person asks, will I know what is going on? So I would say WandaVision is interesting enough for you to follow if you have not seen all of the MCU. However, so much of what the Marvel Cinematic Universe is about is building off of so many different pieces in a way that, honestly, I haven't really ever seen in film and now TV before. So I really, really recommend investing some time to see at least some of the movies that are part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. My recommendation for starting with WandaVision, I think you should really just follow any of the films that feature Wanda Maximoff, played by Elizabeth Olsen, or Vision, played by Paul Bettany. So I would say you would probably have to have seen The Avengers Age of Ultron, Captain America Civil War, The Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame. I feel like at least those four will give you enough of a sense of what is going on and the way that this world kind of works. I would also recommend reading. There's so much out there. You can get lost in the Marvel Cinematic Universe Wikipedia pages, and there's so much that you can learn just there to fill in yourself if you don't necessarily have the time to invest in the movies. I think if you can't invest in the full MCU, those 4 movies are a great place to start before you go into WandaVision. But at the same time, there is enough just in WandaVision that you can appreciate. So yeah. I might also throw Captain Marvel in there too to watch Captain Marvel. Might just toss that one in too.
Yeah, and if you want to watch just those few that Connor mentioned, that's kind of what I haven't seen all of the Avengers movies. I've seen a good amount. But then you can watch those, and then if you don't want to watch all of them, you can pop onto YouTube, and there are some really great Marvel Cinematic Universe summaries that people have made. And I actually watched one of those the other day after the most recent episode of WandaVision, and it cleared up a couple of things for me. And it was actually really interesting. So you could do it that way too if you want to watch one of those like 20-minute breakdowns of the whole universe.
Yeah. And then I think, honestly, we can just sort of roll that right into this other question that we have about orders in which to watch the Avengers movies and the MCU. There are a lot of different orders to watch them in. A lot of people swear by the order in which they were released, which is a perfectly fine way to watch them. Personally, I find the one that is on Tech Radar to be my definitive version for watching. It goes chronologically. Doesn't always make sense for the cutscenes that usually happen in the after bits of them, but sometimes they do. But that's the way that I think first watched them. I mean, I had watched some as they came out, and then when I finally went through it, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to commit and I'm going to watch all of them. That's how I watch it myself. That's how I watch it with my dad. So that's usually the one that I recommend to people. I think that's a really good version. Yeah. And I'm sure that there are probably some Marvel people who are like, someone murder this person for saying this. That is the worst version to watch this ever. And that very well may be. I am not a huge comic book person, but as an actor, as a director, as a storyteller person, that made the most storytelling sense to me.
And that's fair.
The way I approach it. In terms of Star Wars movies, which they asked about orders, there's the classic, order in which they were released, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. There's nothing wrong with that one. There's also the chronological 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
That's how I first watched Star Wars. I kind of vote for that.
That's how you watched it?
Yeah. I loved it that way.
Nice.
It was really enjoyable that way to really watch everybody grow up. It's fun.
I will say, I experimented with this other version that's come out that puts Anakin as the protagonist. And that is starting with A New Hope. then going to Empire Strikes Back. So 4, 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then after Empire Strikes Back, jumping back in time to the origin story of Anakin and going 1, 2, 3, and then jumping forward to 6.
Oh.
And then finishing the saga out that way, which I experienced that, and that was a lot of fun.
Okay.
So
that's cool.
I mean, that's one of the really cool things I think about Star Wars, and the order in which you can watch it really kind of changes the way that the story is being told and who is the person that we're paying attention to in the story.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say there really isn't a bad way to watch Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all good. It's all fun, and you know, they're movies that you probably will want to watch more than once. So
yeah, especially if you jump into
experience them
watching
different ways.
If you jump into watching Clone Wars, then you're going to want to go back and watch specific movies again. It's something that you can keep coming back to. Yeah. Clone Wars, I really enjoy that too. Clone Wars is really good.
Yeah. I will also say, you know, some of these other spin-off movies, Solo and Rogue One, don't sleep on those either.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, right. Oh, yeah.
There are a lot of people who hated on Solo. I loved Solo.
I still
thought
need
it
to
was fun.
see that. Oh my God.
I feel no shame in saying it because I honestly, all Star Wars is good Star Wars. That's where I am. You know what? I'll take it all.
Yeah.
But Rogue One is one that every single time I watch it, it just gets better and better and better and better. And if you're going to watch Rogue One, watch that immediately before you see A New Hope, because that literally goes, the final scene of Rogue One goes right into the beginning scene of A New Hope. So that's super fun to watch.
Yeah, gorge.
I love those questions.
Yeah.
Those were fun. I like that those two went hand in hand and they were from two different people.
And we don't get to talk about that stuff a lot. We don't talk a lot about
We
Star
don't. We
Wars
haven't really
and
talked
Marvel.
about Marvel and Star Wars. I think we've shied away from it because I don't feel like I'm an expert on either.
And me even less so. Yeah.
And so, and like there are a bunch of other podcasts that really kind of dive deep very much into those fandoms. But thank you very much for affording us the chance to
Thank
sort
you for
of
letting us dip our
toes in there. Because I've tried to learn a lot about these, and I kind of stay up to date. I still play Battlefront 2 on my Xbox One, and I beat the shit out of nobody because all the, you know, small children snipe me from 150 yards away, and I can't even hold my ground. But thank you for this opportunity, and I hope that we can include some more Marvel and Star Wars
we're gonna work
in
on
season
that.
2.
Yeah.
We're going to work up to that.
All right, moving right along, we have quite a few questions regarding Disney shopping and merchandise, which we do know quite a bit about. So I hope we can personal shop for you.
We do. Probably more than we should.
Yeah. So one of our first questions about shopping says, best, cutest, but affordable Disney jewelry. All right, I've got a few options for you here. If you're going for extremely affordable, like single digits here, I would go to Hot Topic. I say it all the time. I love that we have a question coming up that says, where else can I go besides Hot Topic? And we will get there too. But if you want very cheap, definitely go to Hot Topic. That's more, as we've talked about before, a little bit more novelty. But if you're looking for subtle, for my birthday, one of my lovely friends sent me this beautiful necklace that I'm actually wearing right now. And it is the second star to the right in gold.
Yes.
And it is from this small shop that I actually did not know about before that is called Make It Mini. And so you can find them on Instagram, and they have their own website. And it's a lot of very subtle, affordable, modern adult Disney jewelry. And it's all like, the necklaces are in like the $40 range, but I wear this every day. And I'm always a little bit self-conscious about wearing like Disney in my everyday life. But this is just subtle. It goes with every outfit, and it's my new favorite piece of jewelry. So I would go check out Make It Mini, especially because we've never plugged them before. So I want to give you guys somewhere new.
Also, F those people who make us feel bad about liking Disney. I hate that.
I know. I'm working on just letting it all go. We're getting there.
I know. But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
We're all there. That's part of the reason why this question's up here.
Yeah. So one of our listeners said, I already have classic Disney ears, but I want another pair as well. Any recommendations? Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes. So my first suggestion would be maybe don't even buy a pair of quote unquote ears that are Mickey shaped. One of my favorite Disney headpieces is from Toy Story Land. And it's a headband that, you know, you wear the same way as the ears, but it's one of the green aliens. So it's 3 eyeballs. and like the top of their green head and an antenna that lights up and the eyeballs light up and they move. That might be a lot for some people. But for me, when I wore those in the parks, I did not wear anything else Disney with it. Like I wore a regular old outfit, so it didn't feel like it was too much. So if you want to really go somewhere else, I've seen Slinky Dog headbands. So you could go totally outside of the realm of ears. But if you still want to stick with ears, there are new ones coming out every week, it feels like.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah. Just pick a character that you love and wait to see what that looks like.
Exactly. And, you can't go wrong if you're going the more subtle route. I always like to recommend, I love my rose gold Minnie Mouse ears. And it's just something that just like the classic ears, it goes with a lot of things. So but there's also, I've seen a new pair that's donuts. So there's the sky is the limit. And those are 2 places that you can start.
Yeah. I don't know if they still have these anymore. But the last time I went to Disney World, that was when they were coming out with the illuminating mouse ears that would sync up with the nighttime spectaculars, and the mouse ears would light up as an effect in the nighttime spectaculars. I don't know if they still have those or if they revamped them in any way. But I will say, at first I was like, I don't want one. And then I was like, you know what? I kind of want one.
Isn't that how it always goes?
It really is. But I have to tell you, I bought it right before I saw Fantasmic. And the feeling of wearing these and like seeing the effect around the stadium of like what these ears were doing and knowing that I was a part of that was a feeling that I've never had in a nighttime spectacular before. It was a new experience. And that was really, really cool and special.
Yeah, I like that.
I think we should probably go right into the next question, since we're on the topic of ears, about mouse ears if you're part of a bridal party or part of like a groom's party or whatever.
Yeah.
This is where the small shops are where it's at. Like you definitely have like the classic like grooms and brides things that they have in Disney, which definitely, like, if you're gonna go to Disney World, like, get those. The top hat that they have for the guys with the ears, classy AF. But in terms of like something for your bridal party or your groom's party, small shops, they can do so much. Usually they specialize in like florals. I've seen like so many floral things. What I was gonna say.
I imagine the bride in her white ears. Maybe you buy that from Disney. You get the veil. But then I imagined if we're going with a bridal party, everyone else could do the customized floral ones. I think that'd be so cute in the wedding colors.
Yeah, where they're wired and they just look very clean and very like
they look
classy.
More like flower crowns with a subtle ear. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like a nice nod to it, which, and there's so many small shops out there. I mean, I even have a friend named Morgan who runs one, I believe it's called Main Street Morgan Company. And she makes them. So like, there are so many places out there with so much to offer. And a lot of times these people will customize them. They will have a conversation with you, talk to you about what you're looking for, and can make them custom. There are also people who will do more of those traditional, like, character Disney bound sort of inspired ones where it's like fully covered. So the sky is the limit there too. In terms
everyone
of
could be a different character within one universe.
Exactly. Yes.
That'd be so cute.
But there's so many people out there who are working on expanding the ever-growing Mickey ear community.
Yes.
So small shops for sure if you want to do something for a bridal party or a groom's party. That's where I would go.
I love that.
Great. So I feel like we did a little bit of shopping. We'll come back to do some more shopping. We're going to spice it up. We're going to jump around.
Do.
We're going to see what else we've got.
We always shop around.
So, we've been sort of talking about parks with the ears. So let's dive into a couple parks related things.
Yeah.
So this is a question that we got multiple times. This is a question that's been asked so many times to so many different people, and everyone has their opinions about it. And this is first time park goer must-dos and tips. I mean, I feel like I could probably wax poetic on this for hours of things that you could do. The way that my family has done this is, first off, before you go, research. Look ahead, plan for some of the things that you want to do. And what we always do is everyone in our family chooses one thing that we cannot leave the park without doing.
Us too.
And so that way you have the thing that you most want to do and everyone is in it together. So I would definitely recommend doing that. Make a plan and say to yourself, this is the thing out of all the descriptions and the things that I've heard from people. This is the thing that I'm not leaving the park until I've done it, and prioritize that. That is a great way to start. For me, going into Magic Kingdom, there are so many classic rides. I will stand by this, I think, till the end of time. Anyone who goes to the park for the first time, and honestly, I do it every single time that we go, you need to ride the Dumbo ride.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you have to.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have that moment. Like, the Dumbo ride is just this iconic image of Disney World. To do it first thing in the morning when you go in, which is usually like what we end up doing when there isn't like a new ride that we haven't gotten a fast pass for, it is one of those rides that immediately puts you in the best frame of mind possible. It is a moment where you're like, I'm in a fucking Disney World commercial or a Disneyland commercial. I am here. I am happy. I'm with my family. I'm in the air going around in circles in a colored flying elephant. And this could not be better. I will stand by it. Ride the Dumbo ride. If you're going the first time, get that picture. Have someone wait outside and take the picture of you waving to them from this big ass elephant.
I've never gotten that.
You've never gotten that picture?
No.
Oh my God, when we're going, I have to get that picture. Shit, Caroline, you gotta come with us.
I know.
Just be prepared to run.
I know. That's a great lead into what my tip is. What I would say is, trust me, I'm not at Connor's level, but I'm usually the one in the hotel room when I'm with my family where I'm like, will you hurry up? Like, I'm ready to go. So what I would say is if you're a first-time visitor, build yourself a structure for however many days you're going to be there with dining reservations first. However many that you are going to allow yourself, make your dining reservations so you have kind of a rough idea of where in Disney World you're going to be on each day. But give yourself flexibility within that by, and I know not everybody agrees with this, but I highly recommend park hoppers for first-time visitors because
I knew this was coming.
Yeah, because I think if it's your first time, you're always going to feel like you're missing something somewhere else. Like you happen to be in the park where there is not a fireworks show that night and you're like, what am I doing? I'm missing things. And it's your vacation. You don't want to feel like that.
Yeah.
So it also builds in opportunities for you to maybe take a break in the middle of the day. I don't always take a break in the middle of the day and go back to the hotel, but you can refresh yourself and then go to a different park and you can experience a different park that is maybe better at night. I love the World Showcase at night. So I think structure with flexibility within the structure is the best way to go about it when it's your first time, because you might end up loving things and wanting to do more of things that you didn't expect. And so you want to allow for that so you don't feel stuck anywhere and you don't feel like you're missing things and you don't feel upset and you feel like you can take a break and you can go to Disney Springs for a bit and do some shopping and not get on the rides, just so you can feel it out, because a lot of times it's also way more tiring than you expect it's going to be. And I've gone with people for the first time and they burn out on day 3 and then you don't have fun the rest of the time. And you don't want that.
Yeah,
You're there to have fun.
That sort of flows into my next recommendation, which would be give yourself a break day or a rest day. It doesn't even have to be for the whole day. You don't have to see it as like a day lost. Maybe a day that you just get into the park later. You get to sleep in a little bit. Or maybe it's a day that you spend a little bit of time by the pool.
Yes.
You go into Disney Springs and maybe you go see a nighttime spectacular and that's the only time you go into a park that
Those
day.
days are usually so great too. I love those days.
Don't be ashamed of those days. Everyone needs those days, and usually hitting them around the middle of your week is exactly when you need it. So yeah, those are a couple tips of things to do. I'm more on the must-dos. Magic Kingdom, like I said, Dumbo ride.
Also, I would say in Magic Kingdom, don't miss Happily Ever After.
Yeah.
Just don't.
Don't miss the fireworks show. Epcot, for me personally, because I'm a nerd, and I love Epcot and what it's about, I would say don't miss Spaceship Earth, because that really sort of grounds you in the park and like what this is about.
And in Epcot, give yourself time to meander in the World Showcase. Like give yourself time to there's so much detail there. That's not a go space. That's a space to chill and get your food and have your drink and chill.
Because also if you go, it's about a mile to walk around that whole place.
Yeah.
So you're gonna feel that, and you're shins. Hollywood Studios.
I'm biased. I'm just obsessed with Toy Story Midway Mania.
Yeah.
It's one of those things for me that I just love it. I am so happy when I'm on that ride. And now I've never been on Rise of the Resistance, but for me, that's like my next cannot miss thing.
For me, my must do there would have been the Great Movie Ride. We don't have the Great Movie Ride anymore.
Yeah.
My other must do there is like Tower of Terror. And that is not an everybody ride. So I'm not going to just flat out recommend that for everyone. I will try and get Caroline on it one day.
That's the one that's going to be the most difficult for you. Yeah, I don't think
I know that's the challenge. Yeah. It's a frog hopper.
Yeah.
So I think right now in its current state, I would say Midway Mania.
And even like the queue is great. I love it. I love it.
And then I would also say Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
I'm excited to go on that too. Yeah.
I won't ride it until I can do it in person. But from everything that I've heard, from everything I know about the aesthetic of it, that's another one where it feels like it sort of helps ground you in the vibe of the park of like, jumping into the movies, like that sort of thing. So, you're jumping into a Mickey Mouse short. So that's fine. It's also at the center of the park. Usually, if you're going to something that's at the center of the park, you're not going to miss it. However, I will say, transitioning to Animal Kingdom, it's tough to be a bug is a whole lot of fun.
No.
That's at the center of the park in Tree of Life, but a lot of people absolutely hate it. And it's fine. The thing in Animal Kingdom that I would just wholeheartedly always recommend, always, is the Kilimanjaro Safari.
Hands down, yeah.
Because that's what this park was. This park was meant to be Disney's version of like what a zoo is, plus rides.
And the animals are unpredictable. Like we've had animals like cross our path and we can't drive. So something new always happens. Yeah.
And you get to see animals in a way in which you can't ever see them in a zoo.
Right. Side note, I highly recommend The Magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom. The Animal Kingdom show that's on Disney Plus that's narrated by Josh Gad. It's incredible, and it really shows how much care and work goes into the Animal Kingdom, and I highly recommend that as a way to get excited. And then you'll see those animals in the parks. Like, I know some of the names of the animals now, and I can't wait to go and literally see Popcorn the chicken next time I go to Animal Kingdom. I can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah. We can probably go right into this one, too, because I think it also has some stuff to do with first time park going, and that's the question that we have about Disney trip budgeting tips. If you're going with kids, one of the things that my parents always did was they gave me an allowance that I could use on the trip on souvenirs at the beginning.
Yeah.
And they said, this is the money that you can spend. You can spend it however you like. You can spend it on food. You can spend it on souvenirs, whatever you want. But when it's gone, it's gone.
Yep, us too.
So that is what I would recommend for kids. But as an adult, in terms of budgeting,
for me, it's like it's definitely, it's hard. I think a lot of money can go towards food.
Yeah.
Because with souvenirs, you can be like, no, I'm going to have self-control. I don't need that. But you got to eat. And sometimes the food isn't cheap. Definitely plan on eating breakfast at your hotel, like from stuff that you've bought.
Yep.
Like have a bowl of cereal, have some toast, do that in the room. Then I would say, I think my tip from before helps in knowing what your dining plan is in advance. So you know how much money you need to set aside for that and how expensive those restaurants are. And then as far as lunch, I'm telling you, go get yourself a kid's meal from any of the counter service restaurants for lunch because they are so cheap. They are generous. So there's healthy options. And so I think that's a great way to cut your food budget is to grab a kid's meal for lunch.
I mean, when I was there, you could also bring in some PB&J sandwiches and stuff like that into the parks. That's also really helpful. And then I would also recommend if you're building in a rest day, make that a day that you eat in. If you have like a kitchen available to you in your hotel, make use of it.
Yeah. And please just wrap up your leftovers from when you go sit down at a table service restaurant. We always end up eating it. We're late at night back at the hotel room after a long day. We're hungry, pull it out of the fridge. Take the doggy bag. Like, it's okay.
Yeah. But definitely in terms of dining, plan those reservation meals first. Pay attention to which ones have the $3 signs, which ones have the $2 signs, and which ones are $1, though you're probably not seeking a reservation at a $1 sign restaurant. And I would say figure out how many you can afford and structure them in such a way that you can balance when those are happening with the sort of meals that you have somewhere else. Food is the easiest place where all of your money can just fly out of your pockets. So as much as you have a plan, do it. And then hotels as well. You don't have to stay on property. There are definitely some perks for on property, but you can save some money staying off property. There are a lot of amazing hotels in the area. There are a lot of amazing hotels that actually have transportation to the Disney property that they provide themselves. So that's an option where you can sort of budget some money too. So it's really about looking at your trip. What is the priority for you? What are the priorities for your family if you're going with a family and kids? And then what makes the most sense to serve those priorities? And then anything that's not those priorities, just look for shortcuts. And there are so many places, especially on the internet, where people have put their experiences of like where you can make shortcuts for those very specific things that you'll have.
And just as terrible as this sounds at the beginning, just know that things are generally going to be more expensive than you expect or want them to be.
Yeah.
Just accept it. Like, look it up. You can go, if you watch some of these Disney vloggers, they'll go in the stores and they'll check out the price tags of things. You can go on Shop Disney. Just gauge how much things are. T-shirts are like $35 and up. Know that, and then go there knowing that so it doesn't upset you and like ruin your time while you're there. Just know that we're on a different scale when we're in Disney, and then you just have to decide on things according to that.
Yep. Get a good credit card.
Get a Disney credit card. Listen.
Yeah, get a Disney credit card where you can get some of those rewards back. All right, let's transition out of parks because we just did a whole parks heavy little moment right there.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's transition to Broadway because you know we sprinkle that into this podcast.
Yeah,
too,
baby,
we're
always.
actors, and that's what we do. I think we should take this question that we got where it says, "Can you tell us more ways about how to get discount tickets for when Broadway reopens?"
Oh, sure,
and boy,
we can.
Can we?
This is our game, baby.
Yeah, one of my favorite websites ever is BroadwayForBrokePeople.com. It lists every single show that is currently running, if they have a what's called a rush policy, if they have a student rush policy, if they have a lottery that you can enter to get tickets, and all those things. And you can just click on links and it takes you to everything. So I want to go over, we should probably go over a couple terms that you would hear in terms of discounted tickets.
Yes.
One of them is lottery. These are tickets where you can either enter your name digitally or you can enter in person. You get your name. Usually the drawing happens either the same day or maybe once a week for the following week, like with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. That's how they do it. Or it might happen like 2 hours before curtain.
Yes.
This is a great way for you to get last minute seats that are usually discounted. They may be partially obstructed, or they may be some really, really incredible seats that they just couldn't sell. And, you know, it can go all over the place. So that's a really, really great way to get tickets, especially those digital lotteries, because they don't really require a lot from you other than tapping your phone a couple of times. And then maybe you get an option to get some really, really cheap tickets. Rush. Rush is you literally going to the theater box office. Yeah. Either when it opens the same day of the performance that you want to go to, or right before the show goes up. And any seats that they haven't been able to sell, or any seats that have been held back for any particular reasons, they will go on sale to the public, usually at full price, but sometimes they'll have discounted prices because they are more interested in getting people in seats than making money necessarily off of those tickets.
Yeah.
Student rush. If you have a valid student ID, these policies vary from theater to theater, but if you have a valid student ID, usually you can get 1 or 2 tickets with a valid ID for a show, usually around 2 hours before performance starts. You don't get to pick where you sit. They just tell you where you are. That's kind of true for all of the rush and lottery policies. You just get whatever you get. And most of the time, those student rush tickets are anywhere between like $15 to like $40. Usually student rush hits around $20-25, which is amazing.
Amazing.
I have seen so much amazing theater for $20 through student rush. So those are some of the like terms about how you can get cheap tickets. But in terms of like places where you can get tickets besides Broadway for broke people that sort of collates all that information.
I've got a few places for you to go. Number 1, in Times Square, in South Street Seaport, and now I believe in some ways digitally, we have the TKTS booth. So if you've seen the big red steps in the middle of Times Square, that's the TKTS booth. So you will go there pretty much the day of the performance that you want to see. And on the board, they will tell you which shows are available and what percentage off they are. That's a great option. You can also, if you don't have time during the day to go early and do that, get the Today Tix app.
Yup.
Today Tix is the absolute jam. They run some lotteries on Today Tix that are usually day of lotteries, but a lot of the shows are available on a calendar view. You can see what the prices are going for at each performance. That's how I've gifted most of my shows when I get people tickets. They're getting Today Tix. And then so what happens is when you buy your Today Tix on there, you order it ahead of time. And then when you arrive at the theater the day of the show, there is someone who worked for Today Tix in a red jacket waiting. You give them your name and they hand you your tickets. Another way I love getting tickets, especially if you're coming from out of town and you don't want to give up a day waiting around and not knowing if you're going to see the show. One thing that usually runs around January, February is 2-for-1 Broadway week.
Oh,
this is how my friend and I got to see Frozen because we bought 2 tickets for the price of 1 and we split it down the middle. So that's how I saw Frozen and it was amazing. There is also Kids Night on Broadway where you buy an adult ticket and your child, I want to say it's 12 and under, might be a little bit younger, comes for free. That's how I saw so many shows growing up. That's how I saw Phantom of the Opera for the first time because it was Kids Night on Broadway. But finally, this might apply to some Disney on Broadway shows because like The Lion King is still so popular. When Connor and I wanted to see Hadestown on Broadway, there was nothing on Today Tix. It was never showing up at the TKTS booth. It was pretty much...
The rush policy was insane.
The rush policy was
People
crazy.
would like sleep overnight for it.
We couldn't do that. We had work. So we were like, but we need to see Hadestown. And everything everywhere else was full price and we couldn't afford it. So Connor diligently checked StubHub every day to get kind of a feeling of when some people would put up their tickets that they couldn't use for whatever reason on StubHub and how much they were going for. And so there was pretty much one day where we were like, okay, we've noticed the trend that this day of the week, this is when it seems like people are putting up the most and cheapest Hadestown tickets on StubHub, which is pretty much a secondhand seller of tickets.
Yeah, and I will say usually that StubHub, the best times, generally speaking, to find tickets are within 1 to 2 hours ahead of the performance. That's where people are like, oh my God, my life got too busy. I'm just going to try and sell these quickly. And sometimes they're like, you know what? I'm not even worried about making all the money back, so I'll sell them cheap. Or on days of inclement weather. You will not believe how many people are deterred by rain from seeing a Broadway show.
God.
And they will
Which I don't
sell their
understand
tickets to
at
you
all.
so cheaply.
Yeah.
Days of inclement weather are your best days to get cheap tickets to Broadway. I will say it till the end of time.
Yeah. And so the day that we went to see Hadestown, I think it was a Wednesday. We kind of decided based on the trends we were going that day, but then it was about 2 hours before the show. I had taken off my shift at work and we were like, we're going. And Connor was waiting on StubHub. We saw what was in our price range. And like 2 hours before the show, we knew we were going that night. And best
And
thing
that
we
price
ever
range
did.
was still way too high. But
Yeah. We sold our souls. Don't get us wrong. But again, if it's something that it's like, I have to see this, I'm only in town for a few days, or like us, we live here, but we have to see this before it wins the Tony Award.
Yeah.
It's worth it. You can figure it out.
You'll make it work.
Yeah.
We made it work. We were broken. We made
I
it work.
have no regrets about that though. Not one.
No.
No.
Not a single one. You want to dip back to shopping?
Sure.
Yeah, we can always go back to shopping.
Yeah. Well, this one, I'm curious to see what you have to say for this. Well, actually, you know what? Let's start with this one. Connor and I were just talking about this. So we had a few people ask about Disney home decor, specifically Disney home decor that says that you're a Disney fan, but you're also an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I have loved recently that I think I'm going to need to get for our new apartment is Ruggable, which is rugs, as it sounds like, has a Disney collection that is extremely subtle. There's some pretty loud Mickey prints. There are some extremely subtle Disney prints. I think that's a great place to start. But Connor and I love us some Pottery Barn.
Pottery Barn. I mean, get ready to
Yeah.
fork over some serious cash
Yeah.
for some of this stuff. But Pottery Barn has some really, really classy, more understated. It's like I'm a Disney fan, but like I'm a Disney fan kind of things.
They have
So
a bar
like,
cart that's shaped like Mickey in gold.
oh
We
my
can't
God, I want
afford
the
it.
bar cart. I
We
want
can't
it.
afford it.
I need it. I need it, Caroline. I need that bar cart.
I know. I want to get it for you. I know. I think another nice way to do it is, I think we do this a lot, is just put up some Disney art. You know, get some adult furniture, get some classy furniture. But Connor has given me this collection of small paintings.
Maxine V, one of my favorite Instagram artists, Maxine V.
I have a couple of those framed that Connor got me, and I make them a part of my gallery wall. So it's a touch
And
of
that
Disney.
is my thing with the Disney art. You gotta frame it.
Yes,
you
for
have to frame your artwork, and that makes it feel classy. And you don't have to spend a whole lot of money on the frame. You can go to Goodwill and find a good frame.
Yeah.
I would also say a great way, you know, in the same vein as artwork for Disney home decor, signs. Everybody loves a good sign. And there are so many fantastic small shops out there that make signs. Some that are more understated, some that are almost recreations of signs that you see in the park. There's so many of them. There's 27 Willow Lane. There's Castlebound Supply Company. Those are two of the ones that I really love to follow.
There's a lot of like farmhouse style Disney signs and artwork on Etsy too. If you just search farmhouse and Disney, things will come up. It's very classy.
For art prints, one of my big obsessions right now is Vista Boulevard. They take like images from rides and they like make them look so artistic and beautiful. They have some really great prints. But another one of these companies that is on Instagram that I am recently obsessed with is Design Pavilion. They do recreations of scenic elements in the park. So, for example, they have a miniature recreation of the World Showcase torches that is a votive light holder. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Am I probably going to get it one day? Yeah. I'm going to have to. It's incredible. It's stunning. Look them up on Instagram. It's amazing. But they also have recreations of lanterns from the Wilderness Lodge, from the Animal Kingdom Lodge, from the Beastly Kingdom area where you have the lantern that has the 4 different mythical creatures, the Yeti, the dragon, the sea monster, and the unicorn on it. Like, and they are high quality. It's almost as if like you reached up to one of these lamps and just pulled that effer off and took it home with you. These are amazing. I'm obsessed with them. And they ran a giveaway on the torches and I entered that shit like it was my damn job. Like I had to. I didn't win. They did a recreation of the globe from Illuminations that had lights inside and it spun and opened up. Like, okay.
We'll get it to you,
It's
don't
all
worry.
like metal work. It's fantastic. That's one of my new obsessions.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I put these 2 World Showcase torch votive candle holders on a dining room table, any regular person would have no idea, but I would know. And any Disney lover, they would know. Yeah. And that's the way I like to work.
We also just love, I think kitchenware is a good way to go too.
Yeah.
We have a lot of like mugs, obviously. Connor has a beautiful wine glass from Be Our Guest. You could get a whole set of those. And I have a really cool orange bird pitcher with matching little cups. Just like, you know, something that's more subtle. I think a lot of the Disney kitchenware is very, very nice.
You know, Walmart, they had a thing where they partnered with Disney for an exclusive design of 3 Mickey-inspired designs for Instant Pots. And I got an effing Mickey Mouse Instant Pot for myself because I deserved it.
Yes.
And it's great.
Oh, yeah.
It's fantastic. It's black and white. It's nice and understated. It goes with anything. And it will be in our apartment when we find our
I just can't wait to show all of you our apartment when we move back because it's going to be this in a nutshell. I know it.
Yeah.
Well, the drinkware discussion made me think of this next question we have that says, please let us know where to find cool villain merch aside from Hot Topic. So, okay, you read us. We love Hot Topic, but I can find you something else. So the first thing that came to my mind is these amazing Yzma-inspired glasses from Shop Park Candy, which is another small shop. I've bought a couple of things from them, all fantastic. That are, again, once again, if you're talking about adult and subtle, that's a great place to start. I think in that way, we're going to be talking about small shops. Connor and I bought some really great sweatshirts with Ursula, like a very subtle Ursula design on them from My Oh My Supply Company. We've talked about before.
Mom's Go.
Mom's Go.
I mean, Foolish Mortal Supply Company, they usually lean into some of the more darker sides of things, primarily around Tower of Terror and Haunted Mansion. So it's not necessarily villains per se, but some of the similar vibe to villains. I would also really recommend Box Lunch. Box Lunch has
I was just going to say that.
They have so many things on
Get
there.
a Loungefly that's of your favorite villain. It doesn't get better than that, if you ask me. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but they also have so many more villain things besides Loungefly on Box Lunch. You can find all kinds of things. You can fall down the rabbit hole there very, very easily.
My gosh.
That's one that I haven't really talked about, but I fall down the Box Lunch rabbit hole too often. It's not. It usually starts with a Funko ad, and then I'm just done.
It's the Funkos.
We got a question about some Disney music. You know how much we love giving you playlists.
We love it. Oh.
So we got someone who was saying, I'm feeling the winter blues. I want to feel happy and summery. Playlist, please. All right. I haven't prepared anything.
Let's riff off of each other. I haven't either.
This is going to go... I mean, you got to have In Summer from Frozen in there.
Exactly.
Like, you got to lead with that because we're transporting ourselves to a different place in time.
I always vote for anytime you're feeling sad, Miracles Happen from The Princess Diaries because you can't feel sad when you're listening to Miracles Happen.
It's impossible. Yeah. I truly think that it is like biologically impossible for you to do that.
Yep.
I would also, recommend Kingdom Dance from Tangled. I know that we just talked about that a little bit in our previous episode, but that gives me just instant warm feelings, like excited and happy feelings. It transports me to summer. It makes me think of the movie when everything's bright and warm and lovely and real and bright and the world's been shifted and it's just,
I knew it was coming.
Kingdom Dance.
Then you know what? Kind of riffing off our last episode, I would do something from The Princess and the Frog. Down in New Orleans works. Dig a Little Deeper works.
Almost there works.
Yeah, especially if you're working your way towards spring. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to force yourself out of the blues, like almost there, really can kind of lift you up.
Yeah. I would add Try Everything from Zootopia.
I love that song.
Such a good song.
I would probably also add Just Around the River Bend from Pocahontas. That song is fantastic. It evokes the outdoors where things are, when things are moving and nature is budding and things like that. And it's inspirational where it's like there could be something just around the river bend where it's like, we'll get through this, which is nice to have during winter when things are so overwhelming.
Yes. I would also do
Hellfire.
Just to get a little of the rage out. Definitely. I don't know who does the song, but I love the song Strong that is in the credits of the live action Cinderella. That one is super inspiring and uplifting.
Okay, I'm going to go really, really obscure here. This is a completely instrumental track again because, film score guy here. Field Trip from Finding Nemo. That score just like moves and it's just like, it just helps relax you. It makes you think of the ocean.
Oh, throw Beyond the Sea in there too.
Yeah, Beyond the Sea.
Yeah.
Fantastic song. But Field Trip is just so good. It's fluttery. It's wonderful. Listen to it. You'll know what I mean.
Yeah. I also love, I don't know what it's exactly referred to. I don't know if it's just like referred to the Monsters, Inc. suite. Just the instrumental track that grabbed a little bit of I Wouldn't Have Nothing If I Didn't Have You. Dun, dun,
the
dun,
main titles.
The main title from I love that. That feels like summer to me because I've heard it in Disneyland when I went, but I love how that feels. It's so happy.
Yeah, Up With the Credits is also a great one too.
Yeah. We'll put this all together and we'll put it up on Spotify. Yeah. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll probably throw in a couple more too. Oh, I'll probably try and sneak Candle on the Water in there somehow. But yeah.
And the Tiki 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 Room, just for fun.
Yeah.
That's summer.
Whale of a Tale.
Whale of a Tale.
Yeah.
Here we go.
We got lots of options. Yeah. We're going to put them all together in a playlist for you. So, and that'll come out soon.
Yep.
Because God knows I'm going to need these too.
Me too.
All right. So let's circle back to parks because we just have a couple more questions in here that we want to get answered. We were asked about what should you do if you're traveling with someone who has line anxiety, but you want to get on rides?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, and as we know, if you've listened to the podcast, I'm a scaredy cat. And when I am finally convinced to go on a ride I'm afraid of, I get a lot of line anxiety. So that happened to me when I was waiting to go on Rock and Roller Coaster. I was like, I'm doing this. I made it through. And then we got to the part where I could see the vehicles and see everyone getting loaded in. And I started to panic.
Yeah.
Just know who you're going with. No, like, make sure that you can go with someone who can calm you down, but also be like, no, you're getting on the ride. Like, we waited this long and you're getting on. And straight up, I went on Rock and Roller Coaster in exchange for a BB-8 sipper, and it worked for me. Just have something at the end of it that is a reward for you. I know that's silly. I know you're in Disney and that's the reward, but I am truly terrified of some rides, and I need something to get me through it.
Yeah. I would also say, make sure that line anxiety person who's a part of your party knows that they are allowed to leave at any time. Like, sure, like Caroline was like, I want to get on this ride, and was trying to like plow through it and stuff like that. And that's fine. But also make sure that person knows that there's no shame in leaving. There's no shame of getting to the load in and then just saying to the attendant, the cast member there, I don't think this is right for me. I'd like to exit. The cast member will help you do it. Even if you're buckled in and you have that moment, you're like, I can't do this. Shoot your hand high in the air, get a cast member's attention, and they will release the seats to make sure that you can get out. But always knowing that you have the option to opt out, I find does wonders for people who have line anxiety. And more often than not, they're able to get on the ride because they know that they could opt out when they feel like it.
Yeah. And, I like that you said just like, don't be ashamed of it. Be honest. Because for me, the more I told people on the line around me that I was scared, the better I felt. And I've had some really memorable Disney moments. The woman in line ahead of me at Rock and Roller Coaster calmed me down so much. Mm-hmm. I was really nervous. This part is silly. I'm embarrassed to admit this, but here we go. When I hadn't been on Big Thunder Mountain for a while, I didn't know. Big Thunder Mountain is totally fine with me now, but it had been a while. And I was nervous, and I was just kind of saying it out loud. And the little kid in front of me turned around. He was like, you're going to be fine. Just close your eyes when we go through the Batcave, and you'll be fine. And it calmed me down, and I've never forgotten it, and I was okay.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of the other people in line with you. You'll make some great friends, and they'll be rooting for you. When you get to the end of that ride, they are going to be just as proud of you as you are. And like, you'll run into them in the gift shop on your way out, and they'll be like, you did it! And it'll be great. So yeah, positive reinforcement. And if there's a place that you can get positive reinforcement, it's Disney. Any Disney park has got it for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So to wrap up this tips and tricks episode, we have a couple of final questions that we've sort of labeled as miscellaneous, but we're going to do these couple questions because they don't necessarily fit into any categories, but we think that they're really great questions and we want to ask them. So the first question we have is about YouTube channels to kind of experience Disney World for people who have never been. Caroline, you are our YouTuber queen. You are our vlogger goddess. What are your recommendations?
These vloggers have become a part of my week. It's truly now how I de-stress. I don't know how it happened, but it did. So I mostly watch on YouTube. Prince Charming Dev. Love him. He's our age. And Tim Tracker. Those are my two main channels. Both of those put up videos nearly every day. They cover a little bit of Universal and other things too, but they cover everything from like little things that you've never noticed in the parks to, hey, I'm going to this restaurant for the first time. I'm trying this thing where I try to get on as many rides as possible today, and here's how I did it. Just such a wide variety of things. And if you want shorter, more, something easier to watch on your phone, I know this isn't YouTube, but I love Mornings with Mickey on Instagram. She's usually focused on Disneyland, but she's been to Disney World since Disneyland is closed, and she'll do run-throughs of her day at the park in her Insta stories, and that's a nice way to get a feel for a day, especially a day at the parks with kids, too. So she shows you how that can go, about resting for naps, great things like that.
I will say with YouTube, Tim Tracker and a lot of these other vloggers also have opportunities to go to parks other than just Walt Disney World or Orlando parks. at one point they were able to go on a trip to Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea, which, as most hardcore Disney parks fans know, is kind of like the mecca of Disney parks. And I will say that their vlog of that trip was one of the most fun things to watch. I thought they did just such a great job, and I felt like I had such a fantastic idea of that park, and I was like, I'm sold. I have to go there. So that is one section. If you're interested or curious about some of the parks, especially the ones that are in Asia, Tokyo, Shanghai, Hong Kong, that one on Tokyo Disneyland is just an amazing vlog series to watch. Other things on YouTube.
Also, you can watch a lot of ride-throughs of rides.
That's what I was about to say. I really recommend all the things that Attractions 360 puts out. They do HD, fantastic videos, ride-throughs of different rides, walkthroughs of different walkthrough experiences at parks all over the world, not just Disney.
I also love watching the nighttime spectaculars on YouTube. Find the 4K professionally filmed versions. That's the first time I ever saw World of Color was on YouTube. And it's amazing to see it in person, but these are so well done. I highly recommend.
We have another question that is about Disney book recommendations. You know, I will always defer to our friends at Book of the Mouse Club podcast, Courtney and Emily. They are amazing, incredible podcast that I highly recommend you listen to. They put out one episode usually per month where they read a book. You get to read along with them over the course of the month. And then the episode comes out where they discuss the book, any tie-ins. This past summer, they did this incredible series of Disney book to film adaptations. Some of those classic movies like Treasure Island, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Pollyanna, where they would discuss the source material and the adaptation. They're fantastic episodes, so well researched, so thoughtful, and they bring on incredible guests. So my first recommendation is, if you are looking for book recommendations, go to Book of the Mouse Club podcast, pick any of their episodes, and read any of the books that they mention. Personally, you know, I'm a basic Disney fan. I love the Ridley Pearson works. Kingdom Keepers, that series is fantastic. It's fun for young adults. It's fun for adults. It's Disney at dark. Like, it's like Night at the Museum meets Disney. The other Ridley Pearson book that I love is a collaboration with David Barry, and that's Peter and the Starcatchers, which is another series. It's a backstory of Peter Pan. It was adapted into a Broadway show, but it has a whole series. My personal favorite in the series is Peter and the Shadow Thieves, which is the second book. Highly recommend that. I mean, I ate that book up. I read the first book in one sitting, in one day. I just couldn't get enough of it. So much fun. Definitely recommend those two specific book series. My third recommendation that I would say is any art of book that they publish for any movie. These are not only great coffee table books to have, so whenever you have someone over, for them to like peruse through, see some of the gorgeous concept art and stuff like that for Disney rides, Disney movies, but they're so informative. You learn so much about how these movies come to life. I mean, I remember I saw Frozen and I immediately went to Barnes & Noble, which was in the same like shopping center, and I got the Art of Frozen book because I was like, I need to know how they did this. And it was amazing. Like, just reading how they talk about rendering the costumes and the fabrics in that movie, it was incredible. So yeah, any art of book, anything that has to do with like rides, movies, and how they made that happen, those are fantastic books to get.
Yes. My most recent favorite for adults, I loved The Walt Disney World That Never Was. Stories behind the amazing Imagineering dreams that never came true. Freaking fascinating. This was one, there's a lot going on in there, and I think I finished it in one day. Just the origins of some of the rides we know, the rides that never occurred, like amazing. Just so interesting. I love anything that has to do with Imagineering. This one is excellent. And in terms of kids, the kids that I babysit, my godson, they love the 5-minute stories anthologies. So I just got my godson the 5-minute bedtime stories from Pixar. He already has the Marvel ones. They have Frozen ones. They have princess ones. Kids eat those up. They are beautifully illustrated and they literally are 5 minutes. So when a kid is asking for one more story before they go to sleep, I promise you, if you read them one from this, it will be 5 minutes and they will be in bed, which is a very, very useful tool.
Alrighty. And so this is going to be our last question. And this is a fun one. How do you find genuine Disney friends that don't just like Frozen? First off, I'm going to say someone who just likes Frozen, that's always a good place to start.
Yeah.
So I'll say that first.
Yeah.
But
if you want to make some Disney friends, you should really join the Poor Unfortunate Fam, which is our private Facebook group for listeners of the podcast. And obviously, we're a little bit biased, but here's what I have to say about this as well.
No, we're not biased. It's great.
It has truly exceeded our expectations. We thought it would just be a spot where people could leave some commentary on the most recent episode.
Yeah, I thought it really would just be like my sisters and us.
We were afraid. It's not that at all. We have some incredible threads going. If you have been in our Instagram stories recently and we asked if you're walking into the World Showcase, which direction do you walk in? That whole conversation began in the fam. And people had some really strong opinions about that. And it led to such a great conversation on the Instagram. And we see people talking on the fam and connecting over things. And we know that they don't know each other. They literally are just connecting over their love of Disney. And it's such a positive place. So please join.
Yeah.
Please.
That's a fantastic place to start.
Yeah.
We've got so many people who love Disney. And you've already got at least one thing in common. And that's the podcast. So
and it's just social media in general. We've met so many friends from other Disney podcasts, Disney fan accounts in general who we didn't know them before this, and now I consider them friends.
It's not hard to find those people as long as you know where to look. One place to look is Poor Unfortunate Fam, but another place to look is look at the things that you like. Look at, Instagram shops that you like. Look at some of the people who are commenting there, who are shopping, and feel free to interact with those people. That's kind of what social media was for.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised. People in this community are pretty open and pretty receptive to finding some new people for their circle.
Yeah.
And then I would also recommend talking to people in line, because I found some friends in line at parks that I still am friends with on Facebook and kind of keep tabs on.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah. But I'd recommend starting at the Poor Unfortunate Fam.
Mm-hmm.
We got you covered there. So that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. This was so much fun. Thank you for sending in all of these amazing questions. We didn't get to all of the ones that we got. There are just so many. So I really appreciate it. And hopefully we will be able to answer some of your other questions in future episodes. As always, if you liked what you heard, please remember to hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you're listening so that you get all of our episodes downloaded to your device. And we would really appreciate if you would rate and review wherever you are listening, if it allows you to rate and review us. Those reviews and those ratings really help us reach new people so that we can expand our network of people who love Disney, because that's so much fun and important for us to do.
So I've already talked to you about the Poor Unfortunate Fam. You can also find us on social media on Instagram and Facebook at Poor Unfortunate Podcast or at Unfortunate Pod on Twitter. And yeah, if you're not ready to join the fam, but you're looking for friends, just come over to our Instagram. Talk to people in the comments, interact with our stories. We got you.
Yeah.
It's a fun place to be. And we're going to put up the playlist from this episode. We will link the small shops that we mentioned. And we just have a lot of fun things going on there that we don't even mention on the podcast. So please come on down.
And if you're not a social media person and you have questions for us, feel free to email us. We have an email address that's poorunfortunatepodcast@gmail.com. We love getting email. It's fun. we still have our audience feedback survey up and running, just to kind of give us some feedback about what you like in the podcast, things that you hope for in the future as we move into season 2, which will start after our next full episode, which officially will close out our first season. So that'll be really helpful for us. And then, as I always say, it does take us some money to keep this podcast up and running and coming to you. We do it all out of pocket. We do it all out of the love for this, but we do have a PayPal account. It's linked below in the episode description. It's also linked in all of our website links on our social media accounts, so you can find it there. We will accept truly anything that you might have to give, $1, $5, $10 more. You can make it monthly. You can make it a one-time donation. It all just goes right back into the podcast. It helps us keep the podcast free and for the most part ad-free. So we really, really appreciate your support there. So that does it for us today. Until next time, Beluga Savruga.